Welcome to Figure Feedback. My name is Jeremy, and today I want to share with you some rather encouraging news that's coming from Elegoo. And this is in relation to their RFID technology that they plan on implementing that's going to go along with their 3D printers. Now, in case you're new and you're not too sure what this is all about, well, this is something that was really normalized by Bamboo Lab. And basically, what's happening here is on spools of filament that, for example, Bamboo Lab sells. They include these RFID tags inside of them. So when you load them into the printer with their AMS units, it's going to recognize what that filament is. It is going to read those RFID tags, and it's going to tell the printer exactly what parameters it should be printing that filament with. And then that essentially eliminates you from having to run a bunch of tests in order to figure out what is going to be the correct temperature and what's going to be the correct flow and all these other attributes that you would put in a slicer in order to get a print that looks good. And that's actually worked out very well for them. In fact, it worked out so well that other companies are doing it as well. For example, take a look at Creality here. Creality sells RFID filament that can be used for their 3D printers. And then you also have Anycubic that also has RFID intelligent identification for their printers as well. So when Elegoo finally comes out with their version of this, they're going to have it too, but they are doing it in a way that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. So check out this announcement here from Elegoo. Now, this is them trying to get some advice and some feedback from the community about their version of RFID. Now, it's going to be the same thing, putting RFID tags inside of filaments so that the printer will be able to read the specific information on those tags. But what's different about what Elegoo is trying to do is they want to make theirs, or they are going to make theirs, open source, which means that it's not going to be locked down to just their filaments, to just their printers the way that we see it now. They want to sort of democratize it. And this is a release that they put out recently to just sort of explain what they're trying to do here. So they talk about RFID and what it does. For example, it says supports contactless rapid identification, greatly improving operational efficiency and accuracy. Tags can be rewritten multiple times, enabling flexible upgrades and personalized customization, and stable and reliable in complex environments, unaffected by external factors such as dust or oil. That's just some of the benefits of RFID. But why make it open source? So currently, RFID identification in the 3D printing industry relies on closed solutions with different brands, often using custom encoding, making filaments incompatible across brands and severely limiting user choices. So just kind of briefly went over that. So that basically means that if you take some Creality filament with an RFID tag and then you try to put it in a Bamboo Lab printer, it's not going to read it. It's not going to know what it is. It's just going to treat it as generic filament. So what Elegoo wants to do is break down those barriers to enable cross-brand filament compatibility to make it so that, well, it doesn't matter what brand of filament it is, as long as it have an RFID chip. If they're all using this same open standard, then the information is going to be read the same across all of those different printers. So if you are curious about all of the fancy code and everything that Elegoo is planning on doing with their RFID initiative, they have a GitHub that you can go to. And if you know about how all this stuff works and you are far smarter than I am, you can look through this Elegoo RFID tag guide and you can see exactly what they're doing here for that. I'll leave a link to this in the description of the video, as well as this page right here where they just sort of talk about everything here. And you're also going to be able to submit some potential issues that you might run into with how they have this all set up on the GitHub. And then they're also encouraging people to leave comments about what they think about this on Elegoo's official social media platforms as well. So you can just imagine this potential future where, let's say you have like an Elegoo Centauri Carbon, to start, and you have these RFID tags that you can use to put inside of their filament. But what if you have some filament that you prefer from, like, I don't know, eSun, Sunlu, Polymaker, anything, any filament at all, and being able to program those specific tags the way that you want them for that particular filament, and then even be able to just, when you run out of that filament, maybe it's a reusable spool, so you can just get some more of that filament that you want, put it on that reusable spool, and then just keep going with those same parameters. Or maybe you just throw those spools away and then you have another RFID tag that you just slap on that, and you can use that with Elegoo's printers as well. And I'm just saying Elegoo's printers because in order for this to really become one big standard, then you have to get everybody on board, which I think is going to be something that's quite difficult to do, because when you have filaments that are compatible, or at least the RFID tags are compatible with one particular company's brand of printers, that is a big incentive to get people to want to buy that company's filament, because, Creality makes its own printers. It also sells its own filament. Same thing with Bamboo Lab, same thing with Anycubic. So how do you convince them to embrace a standard in which they lose that sort of stranglehold that they have on consumers who have good experiences with their filament, and us being creatures of habit want to continue to use that exact same filament and not mess with something that's already working? Maybe they won't get on board, and maybe this will just be something, at least for now, that Elegoo is going to do, so that this type of thing will work with their printers. But I still think that that will be a very good thing for them, because the community will really appreciate that they've taken the initiative to do that, being able to take whatever filament that you want and code it however you want, and then using it on their printers if they're going to be the only ones that really embrace this and accept it. And with something like the Centauri Carbon, which is getting some pretty good feedback right now from, the YouTube critics as well as just regular people who have gotten it, and a price that is just so darn good at $299, and with it being available right now in micro centers in the United States, so you don't even have to order them through Elegoo anymore and wait for it to be shipped. You can just go to micro center and buy it for $330. This can be a pretty big boon for them, and is definitely a win for those who care about open source everything, or at least certain parts of 3D printing that won't be so locked down. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think about Elegoo's RFID initiative and the openness of it all, and if this is something that would encourage you to perhaps consider getting an Elegoo printer in the future in case you don't already have one, or perhaps you are looking for something that's more open across all of the different spectrums, such as the printer being open and the RFID system being open. So just let me know what you prefer from that perspective as well. But that's going to do it for now in this news brief. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.